All right, kiddos. Hope everyone's warm, comfy, safe. Happy snow day number 2. I'd like to go over the problem I posed at the end of the first video regarding function composition, and then add another wrinkle to it. So this is a pretty tricky idea, so it'll take a couple days to work through it. But what I asked you is if f of x is 2x and g of x is x plus 4, then what would f of g of 2 be? That was the first thing. Okay. So what that means essentially, and I use these circles just to kind of visualize what it means to compose two functions within one another. So what really we have are two actions. We have g, which is our inner action, we work from the inside out, and then f, which is our outer action. Right? So if I were to code the f as the appropriate color, that would be red. So f is red, and then g is the blue function. Okay? So what f of g of 2 means is that 2 goes into g first, right? So I'm first thinking about, well, what does g do to 2, right? So in it goes, and g of 2 means 2 plus 4, right? So g of 2 ends up being 2 plus 4, which of course is 6, right? So what happens is out comes a 6. So in goes a 2 to g, whoop, it spits it back out as 6. So action number 1 performed, right? G of 2 is 6. So g did its business on 2, right? And it turned it into a 6, right? Now that 6 in turn is going to flow through f. So now f is going to work its magic on 6, not 2, but f is going to work its magic on 6, which was the output of g of 2. So the output of g becomes the input of f. So in goes the 6 right into the function f, and the function f of 6 is 2 times 6, which of course is 12, right? And so 6 goes into f, out it comes as 12, because f doubles things, right? And that's what f of g of 2 is, 12. Okay, so 2 travels through g first, and then that 6 travels through f, therefore resulting in 12. Okay, here's a little different way of looking at it, if you don't like that particular aspect of things. We can just use substitution, right? So I'm going to work from the inside out. That's how function composition works. And I first need to think, well, what the heck is g of 2, right? Well, so off to the side, g of 2, well, here's g of x, right? So g of 2, when I put 2 in, I replace the x with a 2, and that gives me my 6, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to substitute in for g of 2 a 6, which is what g of 2 is, right? So I can rewrite this as f of, and I'll keep the f in red just to keep the colors together. And then g of 2 ends up being 6, right? So I'll just replace that with a 6. Beep. Right, take 6, which is what g of 2 is, and replace this g of 2 with a 6. Okay? And now all I have to do is evaluate f of 6, which means, okay, well, you just take this x, you double it. So it's 2 times 6, and there's that same 12 that we were hoping to get. Okay? So a couple ways to think about it, either kind of visually as two functions represented by circles. The number 2 going into one, its output 6 going into the other one, the outermost action. Or you can think of it in terms of substitution. Okay. I asked you a couple other questions as well. What does f of g of x look like? F of g of x. And then I ask you what g of f of x, the other direction. And they should not be the same usually. So let's think about what f of g of x looks like. And we can think of it both in terms of substitution on the left or through this kind of more abstract look on the right. So I'll just replace g of x is x plus 4. F of x, remember, is 2x. Just going back. 2x. Bam. Okay? So instead of putting a 2 in now, this f of g of x just means, well, what does it look like for any x? So in goes not a 2, but an x. Right? And so we're not going to get numbers back. We're going to get expressions containing x's. Right? So in goes an x. And g of x is x plus 4. So out comes, that's right, an x plus 4. Which of course is the output for the function g, x plus 4, right? Let's space it out a little bit so you can see it. So in goes the x. We work from the inside out, so I'm kind of evaluating x through g. And what I end up with is x plus 4, the output, right? Now that x plus 4 ends up going into the outer action, which is the doubling action, f. Whoop. And what f of x plus 4 looks like is, well, it just doubles things, right? So if I double x plus 4, I end up with 2 times the quantity x plus 4, which is, of course, the same thing as 2x when I distribute plus 8. Okay? So that is what f of g of x would look like as a function, 2x plus 8. Right? So I put an x in and I get an x-containing expression out. Okay? Another way to think about that is over here. Well, let's consider what f of g of x through substitution would look like. Right? So all I'm going to do is replace the g of x. Actually, let's keep my colors consistent. F is red, the outer action. I'm going to keep the f and first work from the inside out. So replace g of x with what it is. G of x is x plus 4. Right? So I just replace the g of x with the output, x plus 4. Okay? Now I'm going to put x plus 4 into the function x, f. Right? So what that looks like is every time I see an x, I'm going to put in an x plus 4. Right? So the function f of x plus 4 is 2 times whatever I'm plugging in, which in this case would be x plus 4. Right? And I end up with, of course, the same 2x plus 8. Okay? Now let's see if function composition is what's called commutative. Does f of g of x always end up being the same as, let's look at the other direction. How about g of f of x? So in other words, this is a little different, right? For this case, so this was f of g of x up here. Right, I'll kind of just move this off to the side. We just evaluate that. Right, but now I want to do it in the other order, right? So what this means is that red inner function now is f, right? The first thing x is going to do is it's going to go through the function f, which is a doubling function. Then that f of x is going to go through the function g. Okay, so what I'm doing is, if I'm thinking about the order of things, I'm switching them. So x is moving through f first, and then that is moving through g, right? So let's consider what g of f of x is going to end up being. Okay, so here we go. X goes into the function f because I work from the inside out, and the function f takes that x and it turns it into a 2x. That's what f does. So out comes a 2x, which is the output of f. That's what f is. It's a doubling function. Okay. Then that output of f becomes the input of g. Get rid of that. And g just takes whatever and adds 4 to it, right? G is the plus 4 function. So in this case, it's not taking an x, it's taking in a 2x, right? So if it takes in a 2x, out comes a 2x plus 4. Because g of x just adds 4 to whatever it takes in. So if it takes in 2x, it's going to plop out 2x plus 4. Okay. So already I can tell that g of f of x is not the same as f of g of x. They're different. So order matters. Okay. Let's think of that same g of f of x in a different way as a substitution problem. All right. And so let me get my colors right. G is blue, f is red, and so let's do that same problem, but now using substitution, right? So what I'm going to do is, as function composition asks us to do, I'm going to replace the f of x with what it is, 2x. Okay, f of x equals 2x. So I'm just going to replace that with a 2x, which is what f of x is. Okay. Now I'm going to plug that 2x into g, right? And what g, the function g, says is whatever you put in, you copy right here and then add 4 to that, right? So if I put in an x, I end up with an x plus 4. If I put in a 6, I end up with a 6 plus 4. If I put in a smiley face, I end up with a smiley face plus 4. If I put in a 2x, I end up with a 2x plus 4. Okay? And there we have, of course, the same thing, 2x plus 4. Okay? So a couple different ways to think about the same thing. All right, I think that's good for now. What I will do is I'll post 5 or 6 more practice problems for you to do in the Canvas, and then you can come in ready to go tomorrow. Bye-bye.